Hey everyone, I promised you guys on that last quick blip that I did on a boxing bag, just to show you what I actually do. I promised you guys that I would come back and show you how to work on a bag from any fitness level. And it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman or actually a kid. My son has been doing bits on a bag for a couple of years now. And every single time you work on a bag, you're working pretty much your entire body. And that's what the goal is. One of the things PTs are saying these days is whole movements are so important. And of course they are. They're very important. When we go into more the bodybuilding style where we're isolating different muscles, biceps, triceps, stuff like that, yes, of course, you're working that muscle. It's definitely going to become maybe more firm or hypertrophy and grow. But when it comes to the stabilization of your body, keeping a strong lower back, keeping a strong torso, it really does start on whole movement exercises and things that, like Pilates and things like that, that focus you on what's called your intercostal muscles. And all of those things, that's why you see a dancer is like straight as an arrow, and they seem to be so tall and elongated. That's why. It's because they work on the muscles that pull the skeletal system in nice and tight and strong, and it stays that way. Now let's have a look at the bag. Now, what you guys saw me do was work the way I work on a bag. But let's take it from the beginning. Working on a bag, the biggest reason why it's so incredible for your body is simple. You are turning your body side to side with what I call the shoulder gate. You're turning your body side to side in a horizontal torsion motion. Boom, 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 boom. This allows your entire body, including, and very much so, your intercostal muscles, to work and work quite hard. Now let me describe what hard means. If you're someone who's looking to lose a bit of weight, or even a lot of weight, one of the things that I exemplify in the Balance in Fitness podcast, which you'll get on everything, Spotify, iTunes, the lot. I exemplify how it's not particularly just our fault that not only are we a nation that is so terribly ill with major diseases, but also minor things, and also things like being overweight or having all kinds of psychological issues that are happening to us. It's not just our fault. In the podcast, we break down blow by blow over the last 200 or 300 years some of the main players that have literally spent the last couple of hundred years advertising us into a state where our notions of life and of what we do each day in this world are so railroaded by those notions that now, a couple of hundred years later, because it has been going on for a good 200 years, we are second and third generation that has been almost tricked into a path of letting go of the Stoic principles that we once had, and instead taking on something which is incredibly unhealthy for us. Now listen, this is what I exemplify in the podcast. So get onto the Balance in Fitness podcast, have a listen to that each week. Every single week I'm going to bring you more things to do, not just on the bag. I was in personal training for a decade. I've been training for well over a decade. And like I say on the podcast, I let go of the fitness industry about now 16 years ago and didn't do a shred of anything over that entire 16 years. And I mean nothing. And it's only been the last few months that I have basically put forward the kinds of principles and understandings that I have achieved after over 2 decades of really looking at how to be fit and healthy. Put those principles into action only over the last few months training-wise, and made unbelievable results with literally 20 minutes 3 times a week. And this is one of those things. So let's have a look at it. Now, with a bag, you need to just mainly understand that you start at the bottom, naturally. Now the bottom is, you don't go hard on the bag. You don't get in there and smack the life out of it and think you're doing good just because you do that. Not at all. The shoulder gate is the secret to actually using this, not as a way to become a boxer or become aggressive or whatever. No, as a way of using this entire area, which includes all up to your chest, all through your shoulders, back in front, your back, your arms, everything. You use that shoulder gate and that motion to be able to train everything. Now listen, if any of you just stand up, literally, do it now while we're talking and you know, interacting. Stand up and just stand there and do this. And when you're punching with each arm, you're just putting your hip forward for that side and then putting your hip forward for the other side when you turn. Your shoulder gate is working backwards and forwards. If you just do it the way I'm doing it, literally within 15 seconds you'll start puffing. And about after 30 seconds to a minute, and that ain't nothing, a minute, you will start to feel it through this area. Now, when it comes to working on a bag, it just means you've got something to focus on. But you can do this for anything. One of the things that a good friend of mine, Stephen Menner, was saying with his wife is that when they were doing boxing, more of a boxing style, with their aerobic workouts, they loved it. The amount of work that it gave their whole bodies, but it was very simple, very straightforward. These kinds of movements allow for a fast, simple, straightforward amount of exercise that's done in no time. So it really is something good. The bag focuses you. The bag focuses you. But you can stick something up on the wall. You can just buy one of those little poles that has the little ball at the top, and just let that focus you. That's the thing that you work on. The difference with a bag is that once you step past the first step, then you can actually start to punch the bag. And that's when you start to get the resistance back on your body once you actually punch into something. And that will allow you to progress in muscularity. And of course, for ladies, that's not really important, obviously. All of our beautiful ladies want to have a beautiful, toned, healthy-looking physique. That's great. For a man, naturally, the thought of becoming more muscular is a natural thing for us as well. And we don't take it to extremes. That's what's happened now, is a lot of what we do is actually going to an extreme because we're marketed to do that. We're marketed to train like athletes. And I cover so many things in the podcast, which is an hour long. It's a fantastic listen, beautiful, beautiful product that can truly help to guide you week by week. You come back here with us on YouTube or wherever you're seeing this and get onto our live streams as well. Then you can actually get on and ask me and also the people I bring on questions about your path, your kids. How do I get my kids more into fitness and health? How do I get them just doing what I ask them to do? So listen, let's have a look at this. Now, when you first come and you want to work on a bag, the first thing you do is you don't actually hit it, okay? You don't actually hit it, you just touch it. The priority is the movement. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, right now you can hear me hitting the bag, but all I'm doing is I'm flicking it with my knuckles. That's all. And that's all you need to do. Now, of course, you can see I'm not wearing gloves, but I've been boxing for a little while now without gloves, so I've done enough hardening and bleeding to not feel it anymore. Now, for you guys, obviously the ladies especially, pop your little gloves on and just touch the bag, but make sure you're not concentrating so much on hitting the bag, because you don't want to do that when you first begin. In actual fact, you can injure yourself very easily through the wrists, even if you're a man, by hitting it or hitting it hard when you first start. That's really not necessary at all. To get the work, you just concentrate on turning your hip and your shoulder in a conjunctive way each time. That's all it is. And it doesn't matter if you have, like, you look at me, I look a little bit, like I know what I'm doing. But believe me, go and do this just in your garage like I do. We don't all have to go and look at ourselves in the mirror all day at a gym, okay? Getting fit is quick, it's easy, and you know, it's over with. You feel strong. We don't live in a world where we're farming fields anymore, although, gee, it'd be nice to get back to that. So we need to find a way to actually become fit that's very quick and easy, and something that doesn't tax the dollars. Guys, get away from feeling like you have to have every gadget, you have to have the right neon singlet, you have to have the right perfect $300 sneakers, etc., etc. Get onto my podcast, you'll see that we were railroaded into being constant consumers. It's not particularly our fault. You know, you see certain things talking about it, but in actual fact, it's not our fault. Just like the things that we're seeing right now in the American government, where a lot of very, very bad, bordering on evil deeds are being done by particular people in politics, and they're being uncovered step by step. Every step now, more and more of these political figures are being sifted up, and we can see where they orchestrated their propaganda and their events to make us, the people, think in a certain way. Now, in exactly the same vein, and you must go and listen to my episode 7 of The Balance in Fitness. I have a look at a man that was he was one of the 100 top people in Life magazine, voted most influential. He was one of the 100 most influential people, and he did nothing but make all of the big companies around the world, the processing food companies, you name it, any kind of company, whether they were pumping something good or really bad, he took them down a path of realization that trickery and propaganda in their marketing works. It works. It works on us, the people. How bloody disgraceful was that? And so they went about orchestrating it again and again and again, and that's been done now for over 200 years. Think about that, 200 years. So we know that we're in a bad place, but we can make our way around all of these problems. Here we're just talking about fitness. But when you go back to the Balance in Fitness podcast, that's when I break down the landmines that are in our society. And you will be amazed, absolutely amazed. And of course, in each podcast, we talk about just the simple steps of getting around those landmines and really bringing our children into a state of health, because they're the ones that were targeted most by this propaganda style marketing and advertising. So anyway, when you're working on the bag, all you're doing is utilizing speed. That's all. Don't actually hit through the bag. You're just utilizing speed. With the speed of your movement, you're able to work all of these muscles quite hard, especially if you're only just starting. Especially if you're thinking, God, what do? I don't want to go into a gym. I don't feel good about the way I look. I know that I'm holding too much weight. Well, just start here. It's very, very simple. And it's something that as long as you can feel yourself getting a bit puffy. I mean, I'm getting a bit puffy. So, you know, as long as you can feel yourself getting a bit puffy and you can feel your body moving side to side with this shoulder gait, you know you're doing the work. That's all it takes. From front plane to back plane, all the way down through your hip girdles into your thighs. So the next step from there is you want to start actually hitting the bag. If you want to start hitting the bag, you start softly, okay? Remember, it's more about speed than it is strength that you're hitting the bag. All right, so I'll give you an example of that. 1, 2, 1, 2. You can see the bag's hardly moving, but I'm still using the same speed, but the bag's hardly moving. Now, of course, you're going to have your gloves on. You're going to keep a nice tight fist. If you're a lady, you're a little bit worried about your wrist, then just buy some some wrist straps for your boxing. None of this stuff is expensive. You can jump on anywhere, eBay, anywhere, and buy a bunch of gear for like $20. No problem, that'll do you just fine. So once you start to hit a little, that's when you're feeling a resistance against your body. So your muscularity will be able to take that next step. But don't be in a rush to get there. Don't be in a rush to get to that point, because actually the rush is driven by pretty much by our vanity, and anything that goes to an extreme with that kind of thinking, you're going to end up in trouble. Injured, making bad choices, all kinds of things. So don't be in a rush. Just do the work. Just do the work. Now, the next step is when you're actually hitting the bag. All right? Now, when you're hitting the bag that next step harder, you need to have taken a bit of time hitting it softly. Because I'm telling you, each time, your bones and your tendons, everything need to get used to you doing that. Even when you come through and hit softly, the impact comes straight through your body. Straight through your body. So if you slam this thing as hard as you can on a body that's not hardened enough or not ready for it, it's going to hurt. And this area here of the wrist is somewhere where you want to take care of. Now, don't go to the opposite extreme in your thinking and think, oh, this sounds too risky. Like I keep saying in the podcast and on the videos, as men and women, we need to get back to the stoic traditional nature that we had before this, especially this last 60 years. One thing that we do is we fear everything. How many of you know your next door neighbors? Okay? How many of us even take the time to get to really know each other anymore? We fear each other. We have all of this fake news coming in from the main media. We hear about everything that goes on around the world, and we fear left, right, and center. We've lost this stoic nature of understanding that life is not out there to get us. Bacteria, viruses, all these things, they're very natural things. The kinds of terrible things that are going around at the moment, I completely understand. But the strength of you is far beyond what you currently know. But that strength comes out in a fearless person. Not fearless aggressive, but fearless in a stoic nature. Understanding the principles that make you a proper human being. So don't go to the opposite extreme and think, oh, I don't want to do this. It might hurt me. There is pain in life, and that's a natural thing. Just think about what you're doing. And of course, in any kind of training, you are going to sometimes come across problems. Pulled muscles, you might pull a tendon, or you might, even displace something, etc., etc. It's all part of this. You've got to be able to take a step forward with a breath of strength. As I always say, man the hell up, woman the hell up. Okay? And of course, every time I say it, I'm saying it lovingly. We do need to take a breath of our own strength as human beings and regain that stoic nature. Now, bit by bit, you'll get to what I'm about to show you. And I am by no means some kind of huge boxing expert. But this is what you get to once you're hitting the bag this hard and consistently, and I'm not going to do it for long, I never do. I never hit this bag for any more than about a minute in a row or a minute at one time at the strength that I'm showing you. And it has kept my entire torso all by itself. I don't do anything else for my torso. All by itself in nice shape. All right, so just watching through. Now, that was all of about 12 seconds. But you can see how quickly you have a workout when you're working at that kind of ferocity. The strength it builds through you is something that is done quickly. You don't need to do it a lot, and it stays with you. Whew. So that kind of working out, getting to the point again, that I showed you in the last one, that takes time. And if you go at it too quickly, you're missing the point. When you first start, it's all just about movement and speed. Do it fairly quickly. That's what works the muscles hard. Once you're feeling good about it, hit the bag a little bit harder. A couple of weeks later, hit it a bit harder again. And then after that, your body is naturally strengthened to the point where you can take it to what I've just shown you. So, we've looked at the bag again. Here, one thing I want to get everyone away from is the feeling that, and this is what the fitness industry has given a lot of people at the moment and markets it all the time. I was a PT. I know all the tricks of the trade. You get made to feel like you can't take a step towards a fitness path without being guided in every single fraction of the understanding of what to do. But that's ridiculous. A lot of the guys I see that are doing more calisthenic, push-ups, chin-ups, and all these different kinds of exercises, they understand clearly that when you go to do exercise, just a mild warm-up, loosen up a little, whichever way you feel is a good thing, even just turning your body, just like that. Go for a walk, raise your knees up to your hands, do that 30 times. All of this raises your heart rate, get your body primed, your mind primed to know that you're going to do some exercise. And then that's it, just exercise. If you need someone to lead you by the hand every fraction, you're not taking control of your own faculties, your own strength. So when it comes to working on a bag, I've shown you how to go about doing it. Each of you is different. Each of you has slightly different bodies. And while you go to do what I've shown you, you might think, no, actually, okay, I don't want to hit it at all. Or I just want to work in the air. You want to start that way, but you can feel it working. You'll all have slightly different styles as well. Go ahead and walk your own path with it. As it develops, well then, that's the path you yourself have strengthened through. All right? It's been fantastic being with you guys. You know, one last thing I wanted to say is, you know, when it comes to training, especially for guys, of course, muscularity is something that we look at. We want to feel good about our physique, but at the same time, if it goes to an extreme, if the marketing that's out there jags you and makes you go to an extreme with your training, and you're spending all your time training just because you want to feel pumped up 24/7, you're almost engorged in your own ego, that is going to cause problems. We must return to a more balanced understanding of just being fit and healthy. Boxing is a very, very traditional thing that people have done throughout the ages. And now we do it simply to keep our bodies in just nice shape. We don't need to go to an extreme. Guys, I'll show you the tiny little bits of weights that I do. And if you're wondering, you know, does Mike have a decent physique behind the t-shirt? Well, I hope you can see that I do. You can see that the muscle that I put on is very similar to what you see with so many other trainers or people that are on YouTube and things like that. But it is done through the tiniest fraction of work. That's a very important point. If you let yourself get pushed into feeling you need to train like an athlete just to look all right in a t-shirt, that really is just going along with the propaganda style marketing that's out there, that's been out there over 200 years now. All right? Everyone, be good. I look forward to seeing you next time. Get onto my podcast. It is enlightening, especially episode 7 that's coming soon. See you soon.